You don't notice it at first. It begins in silence. A gentle shift in how your mornings feel. You wake up not quite refreshed, not quite broken, but somewhere in between. The kind of tired that doesn't go away with coffee or stretching or even a full night's rest. It's not just age and it's not just habit. It's something quieter, something that creeps in during the hours when you're supposed to be healing. Your body still and vulnerable, assuming a posture that's been with you for years, perhaps decades, unknowingly placing pressure on the very organ that gives you life. Most people never suspect their sleep position. It feels innocent, comforting even. But there is one position, one common way of lying down that slowly restricts the heart's rhythm, not abruptly, not violently, but night after night, it interferes with the subtle choreography of blood flow, nerve response, and oxygen delivery. Especially after 60, when the heart is no longer as forgiving, this position can become a silent threat. You might wake up with your heart racing or feel an odd tightness in your chest that disappears before you can describe it. You might write it off as age or a bad dream or anxiety, but the real culprit may be far simpler and far easier to fix. Your body, when lying flat on your back with arms at your sides, is not always in a state of ease. For seniors, this position, especially with the head propped on thick pillows, can slightly compress the airway, shift the spine into poor alignment, and cause subtle changes in thoracic pressure. The result? Your heart works harder to maintain a steady rhythm through the night. This low-grade stress, compounded over years, may quietly contribute to early morning palpitations, drops in oxygen, or even elevated blood pressure. It's not dramatic, but it's chronic. And the heart doesn't always scream when it's under siege. It whispers. So you might think you're resting, but your heart could be in conflict. Each night, lying still in a posture that asks it to labor instead of recover. This is not fear-mongering. This is an invitation to rethink how you offer your body the rest it deserves. Because the moment you change this one habit, everything begins to shift. Sleep becomes healing again. Your heartbeat no longer struggles, and your mornings no longer begin with quiet exhaustion, but quiet strength. It's strange how the body learns to cling to what feels familiar, even if it's slowly wearing us down. The back sleeping position, arms at your sides, legs extended, has long been seen as proper or even ideal. Maybe a doctor once told you it's best for your spine. Maybe it just felt natural and effortless, especially after long days when your body needed stillness. But as the years pass, what once supported your rest can turn into a nightly trap, one your body falls into out of habit, not healing. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't wake you up, but that's exactly why it's so dangerous. When you lie flat on your back, gravity works in subtle ways. The weight of your tongue may fall backward, especially in older adults with weaker throat muscles, partially blocking your airway. Breathing becomes slightly more shallow. The oxygen your heart depends on is just a little less than it needs. Over time, that small reduction can add up like a leak in a boat that doesn't sink it all at once, but weakens it mile by mile. Your heart, already coping with age-related changes in flexibility and rhythm, now has to push harder through the night to keep your organs fed with oxygen. And then there's your spine. A flat position combined with the wrong kind of pillow support can misalign your cervical and thoracic vertebrae. This can trigger a chain reaction down the vagus nerve, subtly altering your heart's ability to maintain a calm, consistent beat. That's why some mornings you wake up anxious for no reason, or with your heart fluttering slightly, or with a strange sense of dread you can't explain. It's not always psychological. Sometimes it's anatomical, sometimes it's posture. The solution isn't radical. You don't need machines or medication. What you need is awareness, a shift in how you prepare for sleep, a willingness to question what's always been and explore what your body truly needs now. Comfort doesn't always equal safety. Familiar doesn't always mean healthy. And the sooner you recognize when your sleep position is sabotaging you, the sooner you can reclaim the deep, restorative rest your body has been quietly begging for. The body you live in now is not the same one you had at 30 or even 50. That truth isn't always easy to accept, but it is necessary. As the years advance, the heart begins to respond differently to pressure, posture, and even breathing rhythms during sleep. What once passed unnoticed now leaves an imprint. A night of poor alignment can show up in your blood pressure the next morning. A slightly compressed airway can leave your heart beating erratically before dawn. And the worst part? Most seniors don't connect the dots between how they sleep and how they feel. After 60, the heart's muscle walls may become stiffer, its electrical signals may slow or misfire more easily. The vessels that once pulsed freely now require more effort to push blood through. Even something as seemingly minor as lying flat can influence the amount of blood returning to the heart. When you sleep in a position that shifts circulation or restricts airflow, your heart compensates. It may beat faster, it may beat harder, and over time it may beat less efficiently. These aren't overnight changes. They build slowly, invisibly, until fatigue and brain fog become your new normal. That's why the way you sleep matters more now than it ever did. It's not just about avoiding snoring or stiff joints. It's about protecting the organ that sustains every breath and every thought. Seniors who unknowingly sleep in high-stress positions often experience subtle warning signs: restless nights, dry mouth, early morning headaches, and unpredictable blood pressure swings. These aren't random, they're messages. Messages from a heart that's working too hard in the very hours it's meant to recover. You have the power to listen, to change the script, to shift from a posture that demands more from your heart to one that offers it peace. Because the needs of your body have evolved. And honoring those needs isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And when you align your rest with your reality, your heartbeat begins to respond, not with strain, but with steadiness, not with urgency, but with ease. Beneath the surface of your skin, every breath, every beat, and every position you hold in sleep creates a ripple effect through your circulatory system. Your veins and arteries do not simply lie dormant as you rest. They shift, adapt, and respond to how your body is arranged through the night. Especially in older adults where vascular flexibility has declined, sleep posture plays a surprisingly significant role in how efficiently blood returns to and from the heart. One slight compression here, a subtle tilt there, and the entire circulatory rhythm can be thrown just enough off balance to matter. When you lie flat on your back, your heart sits in a position that, for many seniors, isn't optimal. Gravity presses down through the chest cavity. The aorta and vena cava, which manage the major in and out flow of blood, can experience slight resistance, especially if there's even mild stiffness in the spine or surrounding muscles. In younger bodies, the elasticity of the vessels compensates, but with age, that give and take weakens. Instead of flowing effortlessly, blood can pool more easily in the extremities or return too slowly to the heart, forcing your cardiovascular system to overwork during the very hours it's supposed to repair. This overcompensation doesn't always cause symptoms right away, but over time, seniors may begin to experience mild edema in the legs, shortness of breath upon waking, or nighttime episodes of heart palpitations. It can feel confusing. How could something as still and passive as sleep cause the body to feel so unsettled? The answer lies in the subtle relationship between posture, pressure, and vascular response. Even when you are still, your heart is not. And if your position restricts or distorts blood flow, the entire system responds in kind. But there is relief. There is a way to support circulation gently to ease the strain without medications or machines. Small shifts in sleep posture, like adjusting the angle of your upper body or switching the side you lie on, can restore the balance your heart craves. It's not about perfection, it's about awareness. Because when you give your body the conditions to flow, it responds with life, with clarity, and with a rhythm that feels like peace. Not all sleep positions are created equal, especially in the later chapters of life. While some offer support and relief, others quietly erode your health night after night. For seniors, the difference between a nourishing night of rest and a heart-stressing struggle often comes down to one decision: how you position your body before you drift off. And though it may sound too simple to matter, the truth is undeniable. Your choice of sleep posture directly affects how your heart performs in the quiet hours when no one is watching and nothing feels urgent, until the damage is done. Let's start with the most harmful. Flat on your back, with your head elevated on multiple pillows. This position, while often thought to reduce acid reflux or help breathing, can actually impair airflow in older adults. The tongue may fall backward, the neck may compress, and shallow breathing becomes the default. For a heart that needs rhythm and oxygen, this means disruption. But it doesn't stop there. This posture also changes the shape of the chest cavity, making it harder for the lungs to expand fully and for blood to return efficiently to the heart. It might feel restful, but underneath that stillness, your body is straining. Now compare that with sleeping on your left side, a posture that countless studies and sleep specialists recommend for seniors with cardiovascular concerns. This position supports optimal blood flow, especially from the heart, and reduces pressure on major vessels like the inferior vena cava. The left side alignment also improves lymphatic drainage, aids digestion, and may reduce nighttime palpitations. It's a small shift with a massive impact. The heart rests more easily, the nervous system quiets down, and your body enters a deeper, more restorative state of sleep. The difference isn't dramatic, but it is meaningful. And for aging hearts, that meaning can be everything. It's not about fear, it's about freedom. The freedom to choose a position that works with your body, not against it. The freedom to wake up without that foggy weight in your chest, without the tension behind your eyes, without the dull ache in your ribs. Because when you lie down with intention, you rise with strength. You give your heart the quiet it's earned, and it returns the favor by beating not with struggle, but with steady grace. Breathing is the most fundamental act of life, and yet we rarely think about how it changes once we close our eyes and drift into sleep. As we age, our breathing patterns naturally become more shallow, more vulnerable to interruption. Add the wrong sleep position into the equation, and what should be a peaceful, restorative rhythm can become a fragmented struggle. You may not wake up gasping, you may not even stir, but your body knows. Your heart knows, and each night of reduced oxygen quietly chips away at your resilience, your energy, your clarity. When you lie flat on your back, the muscles in your airway are more likely to relax into collapse. For older adults, this effect is amplified by age-related decreases in muscle tone and structural changes in the throat and diaphragm. This position narrows the airway and increases resistance, forcing your body to work harder for every breath. You may not snore loudly or show signs of sleep apnea, but even small disruptions in airflow can lower oxygen saturation, and when oxygen drops, the heart steps in to compensate, beating faster, harder, trying to stabilize what your posture has unsettled. Over time, these micro struggles during sleep can add up. Seniors may experience morning headaches, frequent nighttime awakenings, or an unshakable feeling of fatigue upon waking. These are not just signs of poor sleep, they are the echoes of a body that has been denied the oxygen it needed. Your heart beats over 100,000 times a day. When it's forced to operate under low oxygen conditions night after night, it cannot perform its repair functions properly. It wears down, quietly, predictably, unless you intervene, and that intervention can be gentle. A slight elevation of the head, not with multiple pillows, but with a soft incline under the mattress. A shift to side sleeping, a pillow between the knees for spinal alignment. These small choices reopen the lungs, stabilize breathing, and give your heart the oxygen-rich environment it depends on. You don't need a machine to breathe better. You need intention. Because when your breath flows freely, your heart follows, and with that, healing begins. Deep within your body lies a quiet messenger, a nerve that speaks not in words but in pulses. It's called the vagus nerve, and it touches nearly every major organ, including the heart. It helps regulate your breathing, your digestion, and your emotional state. And most critically during sleep, it helps modulate your heart rate. When your sleep position compresses, distorts, or agitates this delicate pathway, the impact is subtle but powerful. You may not feel the pressure on the nerve, but you will feel its consequences in your chest, in your breath, in your mood when you wake. When you lie flat on your back or in positions that pull the neck into awkward angles, the vagus nerve can become overstimulated or, worse, restricted. This creates a tug of war inside your autonomic nervous system, activating the very stress responses that sleep is supposed to calm. Your parasympathetic system, the one responsible for rest, digestion, and healing, struggles to engage fully. And when it does, it may flicker on and off, creating heart rate variability that feels more like fluttering than flow. For older adults, this is not just uncomfortable, it's exhausting. You might find yourself waking at the same hour every night, feeling a jolt of adrenaline for no clear reason, experiencing anxiety that wasn't there during the day. These symptoms often lead seniors to assume they're becoming more sensitive, more anxious, more fragile. But the truth may lie in the neck, the spine, the slight twist of a pillow that's misaligned. The vagus nerve, when compressed or agitated, cannot do its job, and your heart is the one left to make up the difference. So consider how you cradle your head, how your neck falls as you sleep. The vagus nerve thrives in alignment, in softness, in positions that don't force it to bend unnaturally through the night. A slight turn to the side, a supportive pillow that maintains your spine's curve. These are not luxuries, they are lifelines. Because when the vagus nerve is soothed, the heart finds its rhythm. Not a rhythm of stress, but of restoration. And that, more than anything, is what you deserve every single night. Changing your sleep position doesn't mean overhauling your entire bedtime routine. It doesn't require expensive tools or high-tech solutions. In fact, the most powerful changes are often the smallest ones. Subtle shifts in alignment, slight elevations, soft support beneath the joints. These are the movements that create space for the heart to rest, for the lungs to fill, for the nervous system to calm. And yet, they are so often overlooked, dismissed as trivial, or never taught at all. But to a body over 60, these adjustments can mean the difference between healing and harm. Start with the head. Instead of stacking pillows, aim for a gentle incline that keeps the neck aligned with the spine. Too much elevation can kink the airway. Too little can collapse it. Try a wedge pillow beneath the upper back or insert a folded towel under the mattress. Next, consider your side. Sleeping on your left side improves circulation from the heart and reduces acid reflux, which can disturb breathing. Place a pillow between your knees to keep the spine from twisting and the hips from pulling awkwardly. These tiny alignments create a chain reaction of relief throughout the body. Then there's the arms. Avoid placing them overhead, which can constrict blood vessels and strain the shoulders. Instead, let them rest softly in front of your body or along your sides. If you've grown used to the back sleeping position, start with a few nights on your side for only part of the night. Allow your body to learn a new rhythm gradually. It's not about perfection, it's about direction. Each night you shift even slightly toward a more heart-friendly posture, your body notices, your heart thanks you. Because healing doesn't always require a breakthrough, sometimes it requires a return to gentler ways of lying down, to intuitive listening, to giving your heart the space it's quietly asking for. These adjustments won't wake you up in the night with their brilliance, but they will greet you in the morning with their results: a steadier beat, a calmer breath, and a body that feels, once again, like it belongs to you. There is a kind of stillness that heals and a kind that harms. As we age, the moments we spend asleep become more than just recovery time. They become sacred, a nightly return to equilibrium where the chaos of the day dissolves and the body repairs itself in silence. But if that stillness is held in a position that restricts, compresses, or distorts your internal rhythms, the repair is interrupted. Not with pain, not with alarms, but with the slow erosion of vitality. That's why the way you sleep, the position you hold for hours at a time, matters more than ever now. For decades, we're taught to power through, to ignore the body's messages, to focus on how we feel during the day, not during the night. But nighttime is when your heart does its deepest work. It resets hormonal levels, it repairs micro tears in your blood vessels, it recalibrates your blood pressure. And all of this is influenced by the position you hold for 6 to 8 hours, more than a quarter of your life. If your sleep posture hinders that process, the price isn't paid in one night. It's paid in slow fatigue, chronic tension, and a heartbeat that struggles to stay steady under strain. This is the kind of truth that's easy to overlook, especially when symptoms come dressed as age or stress. But your body is wiser than that. It gives clues. A dry mouth in the morning, a restless leg, a heartbeat that skips just once too often. These are the whispers that say, I'm not healing properly. And the answer isn't to fear the night, it's to embrace it differently, with awareness, with intention, with a kind of stillness that supports rather than suppresses your body's natural rhythms. Tonight, when you lie down, ask yourself, am I offering my body true rest or just routine? Am I allowing my heart the space to restore or placing it under quiet pressure once again? You are not too old to change. You are not too far gone to heal. The smallest shift in how you sleep could open the door to deeper peace, steadier breath, and mornings that no longer begin with fatigue but with quiet, enduring strength. It starts subtly, a few nights here and there where you wake up with a tight chest, a racing heart, or a foggy mind. You brush it off, blame the weather, blame the stress. But over time, that occasional unrest becomes a pattern, and the pattern becomes a cycle. Night after night, the same position, the same quiet compression, the same disruption to your breath, your circulation, your nervous system. And your heart, once resilient and rhythmic, begins to wear down, not from trauma, but from repetition, from a position that feels passive, but silently demands too much. Each night that you sleep on your back with poor support, or with your head tilted too far forward, your airway narrows. The oxygen flow dips. Your blood pressure subtly rises. The vagus nerve, that vital thread of calm running from your brain to your gut, becomes disturbed. Your sleep becomes lighter. Your dreams fade. And in the morning, you wake up not refreshed, but depleted. The cycle continues. The body weakens. And because nothing feels obviously wrong, it's easy to let it keep going. That's how the damage compounds, gently but relentlessly. Breaking that cycle doesn't require drastic change. It starts with one conscious act, choosing a different position, one that opens your chest, elongates your spine, and allows your breath to move freely, one that supports your heart rather than compresses it. For most seniors, sleeping on the left side with proper neck and leg alignment offers the best environment for healing, not just because it feels better, but because it honors the physiology of the aging body. It works with your circulation, not against it. It calms your nervous system rather than inflaming it. It invites rest instead of resistance. The beauty of this shift is that it builds. One good night becomes two become five, and over time, you reclaim what was quietly slipping away: your energy, your clarity, your calm. You don't need to wait for a diagnosis or a crisis. You only need to listen to your heartbeat, to your breath, to the part of you that's been asking night after night for something gentler, something kinder, something healing. There's a moment right after you open your eyes, before the thoughts rush in, before your feet touch the floor, where your body tells the truth. And for many seniors, that moment is filled with heaviness, a chest that feels tight, legs that ache, a heart that beats just a little too fast for just waking up. It's easy to blame aging or assume it's just another part of getting older, but often what you're feeling in those first few minutes isn't age, it's aftermath. The quiet result of hours spent in a position that worked against your body's healing rather than for it. Overnight, your body is supposed to shift into repair mode. Hormones rebalance, muscles rebuild. The heart slows its rhythm and restores its strength. But if you're lying in a posture that restricts your breathing, collapses your chest, or compresses your spine, then your body doesn't repair, it compensates. Your heart races when it should be resting, your blood pressure fluctuates, your oxygen drops in tiny, unnoticed waves. And by the time morning arrives, you feel the weight of a night not well spent, not because you didn't sleep, but because your body had to fight its way through it. This is why some seniors wake up more tired than when they went to bed, why even a full 8 hours doesn't feel like rest. The quality of your sleep has less to do with duration and more to do with position. A body in alignment can heal in 6 hours. A body under pressure can suffer in 10. And the difference begins the moment your head hits the pillow and your spine begins to settle. Are you offering it space to expand, to breathe, to circulate? Or are you pinning it into patterns that quietly wear it down? If mornings feel harder than they should, it's time to look back at the night, at the angles, the softness, the support. Your body remembers how you treated it while you slept, and it shows you in those first few waking breaths. But here's the grace in all of this. Tomorrow's morning can feel different, better, stronger. All it takes is a shift, not just in posture, but in intention. A commitment to offer your body the peace it so deeply deserves. Not someday, tonight. The body doesn't shout until it has to. Long before any diagnosis, any emergency, or any test result, it whispers. It nudges, it sends signs, and the heart, in particular, is one of the most subtle communicators of all. You may not feel pain, you may not see swelling, but you might notice that climbing stairs feels just a little harder than it used to, that your pulse flutters in the stillness before sleep, that your breath feels shallow in moments that should be calm. These are not just signs of aging. They're messages, gentle ones, from the organ that's been carrying you quietly for decades. Sleep is when these messages grow loudest, because when your body finally stops moving, your heart has a chance to be heard. A heart under stress may speak in the form of racing rhythms, night sweats, or a strange pressure behind the sternum. It may wake you with a pounding you can't explain, or a feeling of dread you can't shake. These aren't imagined. They aren't random. They are the result of how your body has been positioned for hours, how your lungs, nerves, and blood flow have been influenced by something as simple as the angle of your pillow or the way your shoulders fall. The beauty of these signals is that they give you time to respond before the damage deepens, time to adjust, not out of fear, but out of care. The heart doesn't demand perfection. It asks for space, for rhythm, for rest. And when you give it that, by sleeping in a posture that supports breath, calms the vagus nerve, and aligns the spine, it responds, not with pain, but with steadiness, not with exhaustion, but with clarity. The signs begin to fade, the body begins to heal. You don't need to wait for a scare to make a change. The information is already in your hands and in your chest. That quiet thud between your ribs is a teacher, a guide. And if you begin to listen, really listen, it will tell you exactly what it needs. Not tomorrow, tonight, while the world sleeps, while your healing waits. Healing doesn't happen in a burst. It's not a single decision, a one-time fix, or a miracle solution. Especially for the heart, restoration is a process, one that unfolds slowly, quietly, through consistency. One good night of sleep in the right position won't undo decades of strain, but it's a start, a seed planted in the soil of intention. And when that seed is nourished night after night, the transformation begins, not just in your sleep, but in your mornings, your energy, your heartbeat. This is the power of repetition, of creating a rhythm that your heart can trust. The human body thrives on patterns. Your heartbeat, your breath, your digestion all rely on predictable, supportive cycles. When you begin to offer your body a consistent sleep posture that protects rather than compresses, those internal rhythms stabilize. Blood flows more easily, the vagus nerve resets, hormones release in harmony, and your heart no longer feels like it's running uphill while the rest of you rests. It begins to work with ease, with softness, because it knows what to expect. And that expectation becomes a kind of safety. Too often, we underestimate the value of small, repeated changes. We try a new position one night, and when we wake up still tired, we give up. But your body is not a machine, it is a living system. It takes time to unlearn years of tension, to rewire the nervous system's response to sleep, to rebuild the trust your heart once had in the stillness of the night. But with patience, the benefits compound. What begins as effort becomes instinct. What starts as discomfort becomes ease. And eventually, your sleep posture becomes a nightly act of kindness to your heart. This is your invitation to commit, not to perfection, but to consistency. To show up for your heart, not just when it's hurting, but when it's healing, night after night, breath after breath. Because every time you choose a position that serves your body's needs, you cast a vote for your future. A future with less fear, less strain, and a heartbeat that hums not with effort, but with peace. For too many seniors, the night has become a battleground, a time of tossing, turning, waking up breathless, or rising with a heart that feels like it ran a race while the body lay still. What should be a sanctuary has turned into a cycle of unease, but it doesn't have to stay that way. The night was never meant to punish you. It was meant to renew you. And with the right awareness, with a few gentle shifts, you can reclaim those hours, not just for rest, but for true healing. Healing that begins deep in the chest and radiates into every part of your day. Sleep isn't just passive, it's the most active repair time your body has. But when your posture blocks your breath or strains your nervous system, that healing is cut short. Your heart doesn't enter full recovery, your cells don't regenerate at their best, and your mood, your energy, your memory, they all begin to dim. That's why reclaiming the night isn't just about comfort. It's about creating a physiological environment where your body can do what it was designed to do, restore itself. And it begins not with supplements or sleep aids, but with the position you choose when your head hits the pillow. When you choose a position that opens your chest, elongates your spine, and supports your breath, your body responds with trust. Oxygen flows, the parasympathetic system takes over, your heart rate slows, not from exhaustion, but from safety. This is what your body has been waiting for, not another pill, but permission to relax, to rebuild, to let go. And as you reclaim the night, you begin to wake up differently, not in fear or fog, but with a sense of calm that stays with you through the day. The night can be yours again, not a place of worry or strain, but a temple of recovery. And every evening, as you lie down with care and intention, you remind your heart, I'm listening, I'm adjusting, I'm giving you what you need to keep beating, not just longer, but stronger. That is the quiet power of rest reclaimed. And it begins tonight. This is where everything changes, not because you're making a grand declaration, but because you're making a quiet promise to yourself, to your heart, to the life you still want to feel fully awake in. Tonight, you will not collapse into sleep. You will arrive into it with care, with awareness, with a choice to position your body in a way that honors the years it has carried you and the many more it still longs to serve. Because healing isn't just something that happens in hospitals or clinics. Healing happens here, in your own bed, in the position you choose before you close your eyes. You are not powerless against the fatigue. You are not too late to reverse the quiet damage. You are simply being called to notice what was always in your hands. A pillow that's too thick, a mattress that's too flat, a body that's been lying the same way for years, not because it was best, but because it was familiar. But now you know. You know the back sleeping position may constrict your breath. You know the heart labors harder when the spine misaligns. You know that the left side opens pathways of relief. You know, and that means you can choose. So tonight, make that choice. Adjust your pillow, support your knees, turn gently to your side, and as your body begins to settle into this new rhythm, breathe with it. Let each inhale stretch your chest open. Let each exhale release the weight you didn't know you were carrying. You may not feel the shift all at once, but your heart will. It always does. And over time, that steady, quiet beat will return, not with panic, not with force, but with calm, consistent power. The kind of rhythm that gives life back, not just takes it. This is your turning point. Not dramatic, not loud, just real. A body aligned, a heart at ease, a night that heals instead of harms. You've learned the truth. You've heard the whispers. Now you move with wisdom. You sleep with intention. And you wake not in fear, but with strength. Because this rhythm, this heartbeat, this night, it belongs to you, and you've just begun to protect it.